Assume that you actually started getting acid reflux, and I'm talking about you particularly, maybe in the last couple of weeks or last couple of months. Where would you start from? So just sort of walk us through what you would do and how you would get to the root cause of your particular condition.
So I think number one is to keep a 3-day or a 5-day record to really watch what you're eating and see what your symptoms are immediately after a few hours. How does a particular food make you feel? So really looking at the facts of what your body's trying to tell you. Secondly, obviously, the next thing to do, I would probably look at looking at my history of what has kind of happened in the last few months. Has there been high stress? Have there been sleep disturbances? Have I not been able to keep to a certain kind of a lifestyle or a plan? Have I, had maybe I have had like antibiotic courses because, I've probably not been well, or I've had to take non-steroidal anti-inflammatories, whatever. How have my stools been over the last few months? So those kind of things, and looking at certain patterns and trying to figure the patterns. And then definitely, like I said, run certain tests to see where we're going with that.
Understood. You said tests. What would you run for stomach acid?
For example, with low stomach acid, looking at ferritin levels and zinc become really important, because a low ferritin or a low zinc are pointing towards low stomach acid. A lot of times people say, oh, my hemoglobin is 13, I'm really good. But their ferritin is like 20, which is really, really low. You want a ferritin to be at least minimum of a 70 or an 80 for most people. So you understand that their bank reserve is already depleting, so you explain to them that, okay, this is where the imbalance is coming in from, or this is where the issue is. In some cases, I think if there is a lot of burping and other things involved, even to check for like SIBO, that is small intestinal bacteria overgrowth, which is very, very common related to low stomach acid, or even CFO, which is small intestinal fungal overgrowth. So maybe even there are certain labs which do a breath test, which is after lactulose or a mannitol syrup that you have, and they do a breath test to see what is the kind of methane and hydrogen that you have out. So maybe even do those tests. Yes. And that would help to understand certain levels of, whether that is in control or not. So probably if there was a certain kind of a symptom of excessive burping, excessive bloating, and then that just doesn't seem to go down, especially above the stomach, above the navel, around the upper area, the upper abdomen, sensitivity at the rib cage, at the point where
it's sort of tight.
Yeah, feel a lot of tightness, feel a lot of constriction in the esophagus tract. All of these could be, if I'm feeling those symptoms, I would run these tests to see what actually comes out.
Let's start with food. Let's say I've maintained a journal, and I'm seeing after pav bhaji, I'm getting a lot of bloating. How would that dictate your action after? How do you know what to do now? Would you eliminate a certain type of food or the entire dish?
So I think, in that sense, again, depends on, first of all, the severity of the symptoms. If somebody is having, like I've heard of clients come back and say, okay, I had, say, for example, pav bhaji, and I didn't sleep the entire night. I was continuously throwing up, or I had like a lot of diarrhea, or I had a lot of burning throughout the night. I was in a lot of discomfort. For somebody who would do that, I would probably initially just completely eliminate, or I would just completely eliminate the dish altogether.
Okay.
If the symptoms are not so severe, I would think that it's best to kind of break it down and see one by one, because pav bhaji is a mix of so many different things. Like it's high fat as well, and there is, there's maida as well, processed.
It's masala, there's a lot of things.
It's spicy, and it could be even too with the vegetables, like for example, a lot of people put a whole bunch of vegetables, so it could be even something like, maybe the cauliflower in it. A lot of people put cauliflower, or it could even be something like to do with the peas in it. So a lot of people do have intolerances or sensitivity to a lot of foods which can trigger these out. So I think if you want to go down to like microscopic details, that's also a good way to look at it, because they could be intolerant to many other things in that process. But all in all, I think the first thing that I would probably think is you want to eliminate, obviously, having something extremely spicy or oily as well, or high on fat in terms of like butter or cheese or ghee or whatever. And also eliminate the maida component, because, obviously gluten can really cause a lot of symptoms as well, as far as acid reflux is also concerned. So first get the two major things out, and then maybe dissect the vegetables one by one